Every year, thousands of college students join fraternities and sororities, and when they do, they pay hundreds of dollars for insurance required for membership.
But our national investigative team discovered the protection they pay for may be meaningless, thanks to what one attorney calls a scheme.
While not all national fraternities operate this way, investigative reporter Joce Sterman discovered many are able to shift liability for hazing and alcohol incidents back onto fraternity members.
Nothing but a bright future ahead.
Pictures show Nicholas Maurizio left for college, a bright-eyed young man ready to take on the world. But he didn't come home with that same shine.
That punch changed your life forever.
Forever.
It happened April 2018. Nicholas was attending his first meeting as a brother of Alpha Epsilon Pi when he was picked for a long-standing fraternity tradition he'd never heard of. A dubious honor court records label Scumbag of the Week.
Cocked his fist back and hit me as hard as he could. I got knocked out completely on contact.
Nicholas spent 5 days in intensive care, treated for a fractured skull and brain bleed that left permanent damage.
It broke me, Joce, and just, can you pause just for a second?
Absolutely.
What happened inside this fraternity house put Nicholas's life on pause for half a decade. His family sued the young man who hit him, 6 of his fraternity brothers, and the national fraternity, claiming leadership at AE Pi knew about hazing problems at the Florida state chapter, but they still took no action to enforce their own policies and protect him.
They kind of like to go under the assumption that even though we're a national fraternity, we're not responsible for what our local chapters do. Like, that's their position that they're put in, and I think that kind of skates them away from responsibility most of the time.
We spent months interviewing experts and reviewing lawsuit filings, tax records, and industry documents, uncovering a complex system where national fraternities separate themselves from their local chapters to protect against legal and financial liability in worst-case scenarios, all while profiting off a risk they're well aware of.
The top of the fraternity industry has lots of very smart men that take the advice of lawyers with a great deal of experience on how to evade responsibility for the injury and death they caused.
Attorney Doug Fearberg says the fraternity system uses secretive schemes and tactics that allow national organizations to assert control over local chapters when it suits them, while also washing their hands of responsibility when it doesn't. How they've done it is outlined in a confidential memo he supplied to our team from a meeting of the Fraternity Executives Association more than 10 years ago.
Is it a smoking gun?
It's a gun they never wanted to be seen.
The memo outlines a strategy called conscious separation, where national fraternities are encouraged to limit their awareness and oversight of what happens at their local houses, because more involvement equals more potential liability, with executives told prior knowledge of improper acts is fatal.
But is it just the appearance of separation?
It's the appearance of separation when separation is necessary to prevent individuals who've been hurt or killed from recovering against the entity that should be paying.
The question of who pays when a fraternity member is harmed by hazing or alcohol is its own complicated issue. It started in the 80s when insurance companies essentially abandoned the fraternity industry as alcohol and hazing-related deaths skyrocketed.
We needed to do something.
David Eastlick was once the executive director of Delta Kappa Epsilon's national organization and part of the movement to solve the industry's crisis by banding frats together to create their own insurance system, eventually controlling and providing the liability coverage for local chapters.
They could really collect money from the undergraduates and count on their loyalty and get their money.
And when something goes wrong and someone gets hurt, that policy generally gives full coverage to the national organization, but leaves the college students involved virtually unprotected because hazing and certain things involving alcohol often void coverage.
It's meaningless insurance. They are absolutely paying for nothing.
The lobbying group that represents fraternities nationally wouldn't do an interview, but says their members encourage accountability. That's why they say they don't provide coverage for actions that intentionally endanger others, break the law, or violate fraternity policies. Half a dozen other organizations and individuals that represent fraternity executives, advisors, attorneys, or their insurance companies wouldn't comment despite repeated requests.
with the way the fraternities have insulated themselves and played this charade, their mothership has never truly gotten hit financially.
The Mauricios agree. They resolved their case against Alpha Epsilon Pi, although the fraternity wouldn't comment further, saying they continue to invest in their health and safety program, working hard every day to educate and train their members and reform risky behaviors. Still, Nicholas and his family believe the national fraternity avoided the kind of major blow he couldn't.
It will be a battle for the rest of my life.
There are questions about how well-informed fraternity members are about insurance coverage exclusions related to hazing and alcohol. Although some documents we've seen do inform members they could lose coverage, it's often buried deep in the materials they're given, and it's left in the hands of the chapter to distribute those materials and make sure they're informed at annual meetings.
Our investigation continues with a family hoping to end hazing across the country.
The grooming sucks them in, it brainwashes them into thinking that it's okay, everyone had to go through this. You know, one more night, I can get through this, no problem.
We reveal punishments that follow hazing do little to curb the problem. Just head to InvestigateTV.com and search Hazed and Excused.